Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into my official college football week number 13 picks and predictions, where I predict the final score of every ranked game. It is the last week of the regular season, and guys, we've got a little Thanksgiving miracle here. Mississippi State and Ole Miss. Last year, I specifically remember thinking this was going to be a really high-scoring game. I think it ended up raining during this game last year on Thanksgiving, and it was really low-scoring. Guys, I think we get a shootout. This game is going to get better ratings than the NFL games on Thanksgiving. This is what college football is all about. 45-38, and I do like Ole Miss to get back on track at home. They had a horrible loss last week, but this is college football. They'll bounce back. Mississippi State, very one-dimensional. They've had an okay year, I guess, but I'll take Ole Miss to right the ship and not throw away their season. If Ole Miss loses this game, their bowl status is going to be really bad considering where they were just 2 weeks ago. You lose to Alabama, you lose to Arkansas. This would be 3 straight losses. Lane Kiffin, I don't think they let it happen. It's going to be a Thanksgiving night, high-scoring game. Should have been last year, but the rain stopped it. This year we get a high-scoring game, 45-38, Jackson Dart. And that Ole Miss offense gets it done. Moving to the Black Friday games, and what a little discount we've got here. We've got Tulane going on the road at Cincinnati, an absolute battle in the American Conference. Cincinnati right around 2.5-point favorites. Tulane ranked higher. And guys, I do have to roll with Tulane here. I am rooting for Tulane to possibly make a New Year's Six Bowl. I think it would be great for college football. It would be great for their program. Cincinnati, Luke Fickell, I've got a tremendous amount of respect for them. They had a great defensive performance against Temple. But guys, this is a situation, Tulane on the road. This is their breakthrough moment. On Black Friday, they're going to win, and then they're going to gift all their players $500 gift cards to Best Buy and things like that, and they can have a nice little Black Friday little night there and go out and spend that. So Tulane wins this game on Black Friday. Next, we have NC State traveling to North Carolina. Both of these teams reeling. This is a civil war in North Carolina. It's going to be a battle. It's a rivalry. 3:30 game. I'm guessing it's on ABC. North Carolina, Drake May, that offense. It's tough. Drake May is officially out of the Heisman race, I would say, but I do think North Carolina gets the job done. NC State, without Devin Leary on offense, they've just been so bad, it's impossible for me to pick them. And if you're Clemson, guys, remember, Clemson still does have an outside shot at the playoff. You need desperately North Carolina to win this game because you need a quality win against North Carolina in the ACC Championship. North Carolina will drop on Tuesday after their extremely disappointing 20-point, they were 20-point favorites against Georgia Tech. They lose. They're going to drop significantly, but they're still going to be ranked. NC State's going to drop completely out of the poll. I think North Carolina gets it done, mainly due to NC State's subpar offense with the quarterback injury. Next, we've got another Black Friday mid-afternoon game. It's UCLA traveling to California. DTR, Chip Kelly. Guys, I love UCLA, and this is not going to be a letdown. Everyone keeps saying it's a short week. UCLA just lost a very emotional game at home to USC. But guys, this offense is too good. Zach Charbonnet, DTR, Chip Kelly, they will not let this happen. They know they have to win this game because they don't want to throw away their good breakthrough season. If they lose to Cal, they will certainly devalue the bowl that they go to. They got to win this game, finish the regular season strong. They're listed as 9-point favorites. I think they cover that spread against the California team, who does have a good defense. I respect Cal football, I do. You've got Jared Goff. You've got Aaron Rodgers. Cal football is impressive. They've got a superstar true freshman running back. But UCLA on Black Friday, Chip Kelly, the workout regimen, having that Thanksgiving meal to really give him energy. I'm expecting at least 5,000 or 6,000 calories for Chip on Thanksgiving. It's going to give him energy to go out there. And, I love this UCLA team. They're going to win this game and cover the spread. Next, we've got the nightcap on Black Friday. It is Florida traveling to FSU. Guys, get out of Florida State's way or get run over. They're listed as 9.5-point favorites. LOL. Florida State is a top 10 team in college football right now. It is not close. It's Florida State, Notre Dame, and Penn State. They're all unbelievable. 9.5 is such a disrespect to Florida State. Florida just lost to Vanderbilt. Oh, come on, man. FSU, it's amazing what they've done. They've turned around their program. It is so inspirational. And it's Black Friday. There's going to be a lot of people there. The crowd, it's crazy. It's a rivalry game, the Civil War, the battle for Florida. And I'm going with FSU to win that one. And guys, moving on to the Saturday slate. It is the game of the century. I'm kidding. But no, this is a huge game. It's Michigan and Ohio State. Ohio State opening 8.5-point favorites. We expected it to be right around 7.5 or 8 points. They're 8.5 points due to the Blake Corum injury. My personal vibe on Blake Corum, I think he plays, but he's not 100%. I think Donovan Edwards plays, but he's also probably going to be limited. He is dealing with a pretty significant hand injury, which might affect his pass-catching abilities. Guys, Ryan Day needs to win this game. If Ryan Day loses this game, there is going to be significant turnover for the Ohio State coaching staff. It is unacceptable to have a returning quarterback who's probably going to be a top 5 pick, who's a Heisman front runner, your favorites against Michigan. You got embarrassed last year against Michigan. This is unacceptable. Losing this game is unacceptable. You've got significantly more talent than Michigan. You're at home. It is completely unacceptable if Ohio State loses this game, and I've got it at 34-17, and I think Michigan is going to swing it and say Blake Corum wasn't healthy, we should still be in the playoff because we lost to Ohio State, but Blake Corum wasn't healthy. That's our excuse, and I respect Michigan for doing that if this happens. Ohio State is a flawed team. I'm not saying they're not. They do have a horrible offensive line coach. They do have a horrible special teams coach. They can't run the ball. They need to sit Trevion Henderson. He's injured. Play Dolan Hayden. Have C.J. Stroud, Marvin Harrison Jr., get Emeka Egbuka involved. And really, this is a game where both of these teams are not playing well right now. The issue for Michigan, they're dealing with an injury to their best player. To really their full offense, because the other problem for Michigan, they can't throw the ball. And Ohio State secondary, for as bad as it is, they've, against teams, like Michigan, teams that have struggling passing offense, Ohio State's been pretty shut down. And they're at home. So there's a lot negative going for Michigan, and I think Ohio State does get it done at home there. Next, we have Georgia Tech and Georgia. I mean, you got to feel bad here for this game. It's every year at this point. Georgia Tech is going to have to step it up, or there's going to have to be a new rival for Georgia because, this is a rivalry weekend, and it's a 35-point spread. And I really don't think Georgia is going to be that engaged into this one, so I do think Georgia Tech will cover. Georgia Tech's played better after they fired their head coach. They've gotten some big upset wins. They've covered some spreads, but this is a situation where it very easily could be 42-0. You're throwing darts at a board. I would not feel confident one way or another in terms of betting Georgia minus 35 points or Georgia Tech plus 35. It's this game, it's the same thing these last 4 years. It's not close. It's horribly boring. And they always put this game on ABC for some reason. I don't know if it's on ABC this year, but I will take Georgia, obviously, big at home. Next, we have South Carolina taking on Clemson. What do we make of South Carolina, guys? What an inconsistent team. Their offense does nothing. There was a stat that Spencer Rattler had like 10 touchdowns in 8 games or something, and then he threw 6 touchdowns or 5 touchdowns against Tennessee. I'm going to say Clemson wins this game 27-17. It's kind of impossible to predict the final score, but I do have to give Clemson credit. Their defense has played well recently. They've been covering spreads. They've been blowing teams out. Credit credit where credit is due. They're at home. They get enough offense in this game. They do know they still have an outside chance at making the playoff. If they do finish 12-1, there's got to be motivation there. And then for South Carolina, they do have that crazy momentum high of annihilating the former number 5 team in the country at home, 63 points of offense, but it is a situation where their offense has been so bad. Like, we don't know what South Carolina we're going to get, so I'm just going to say 27-17 to be safe. Moving to the Iron Bowl, it is Auburn at Alabama. Alabama, 21.5-point favorites. So, guys, I will caution everyone. Basically, everyone thinks Auburn is going to cover this spread, which normally means Alabama will cover. That's all I'm going to say. But my initial thought is 21.5 is too much for an Alabama team that really has nothing to play for. Their season's been a disappointment because with Alabama and Nick Saban, they're always expected to go to the national title at the very least, or at least be in the playoffs. That's not going to happen. So Auburn is a team. They just crushed a decent Western Kentucky at home, easily covered the 5-point spread. Cadillac Williams, I keep saying it, he's infused life into that program, and I do think they do enough to cover, and I like the over 49 in this game. But again, everyone likes Auburn to cover, which normally means Bama will probably win and cover the 21.5. I'm just saying that's normally how it works. Next, we have Oregon traveling to Oregon State, the Civil War. And both of these teams are really, really good. Both Oregon and Oregon State. Guys, I do trust Oregon football here. I will be watching for the Bo Nix injury. What's going on with that? The reason I cannot pick Oregon State, I don't trust their quarterback situation. They do have a good defense. They do. And they're at home. This could be one of those games where Oregon State feeds off the crowd. They win. Bo Nix maybe he's injured. He's not 100%. But I am taking Oregon because I look at the quarterback matchup and I just trust Oregon more. This vibe is tough because of the Bo Nix injury. We don't know how injured he is, how limited he is. I know Oregon fans were saying he is injured, but I will take them 27-24. It's going to be a great rivalry game, no doubt. Next, we have Michigan State and Penn State. Kind of a fake rivalry that I guess they tried to drum up with these two teams and stuff, but it's just, you know, Penn State's whole thing is they're unrivaled, so I don't know, but they keep trying to drum this up as a rivalry. Penn State, 18-point favorites. They've been on an absolute warpath. If you guys remember last year, in East Lansing, this was the snow game that happened, and this is on at 4 o'clock again. This time it is at Happy Valley, and I think Penn State just continues their domination. Michigan State is a wounded duck at this point. I think they just lost to Indiana in overtime at home. It's just their defense is so bad. Penn State should possibly drop a 50-burger if they wanted to in this game, but I have Penn State easily covering the 18-point spread. Remember, I had them covering the 19-point spread at Rutgers, and this is a team where you just got to keep betting them. You've got to keep taking them to cover because they've been so elite, similar to FSU. Next, we have Iowa State and TCU. TCU, 10-point favorites. This is a 4 o'clock game. Guys, with every week, it's going to be a close game with TCU, but I do think they do what they've done all season. They pull it out at the end. Iowa State is way better than their 4-7 record. If you look at any metrics, they'll tell you they're possibly like a top 30 or 40 team, even though they are 4-7, because they have a really good defense. I think they hang in there against TCU. TCU's been known to play really close games. To me, this is not going to be an exception, even though Iowa State is 4-7 and TCU is at home. TCU does get the job done, and they go to the Big 12 championship in position to finish undefeated and make the playoff. But because Iowa State is a good coach team, they have a good defense, they keep this game closer, in my opinion. Next, we have Utah at Colorado. Is this a rivalry game? Utah listed as 29.5-point favorites, and guys, this has been like 3 straight weeks now where Colorado is 30-point underdogs and they just can't cover a spread. And it's the same thing this week. They're 30-point underdogs and they're not covering. Utah, you know, they're still a really good team. I know they have 3 losses right now, but they're going to win this game probably by 40 points. I've got it at 48-7, Utah winning in Boulder, Colorado. LSU at Texas A&M. Guys, I have to admit, I'm rooting for Texas A&M. How hilarious would it be? How angry would CBS be? CBS has the SEC championship. Could you imagine Texas A&M, who right now is last in the SEC West, beating LSU, who's already guaranteed to go to the SEC championship? That would be amazing. For this game, I'm kind of getting a weird vibe to it, though, guys. I'm thinking, like, weird score, 27-22. Texas A&M is just a dead program. We saw it against UMass, the crowd and stuff. You know, they're facing multiple transfers. They're trying to buy kids, things like that. They are your typical NIL dumpster fire along with Miami, so I will take LSU, but I think it would be so hilarious and so unfortunate for the SEC if Texas A&M actually won this game. They're only 9.5-point underdogs, and that's really because LSU, while they're a solid team, in terms of like going to the SEC championship, they're really not on the level that we've seen in past years when it's normally Alabama versus Georgia. I think that's very clear. Next, we have UCF taking on South Florida. Another little Florida rivalry here. Central Florida versus South Florida. UCF -18. I know they're dealing with a quarterback injury. They have been for a while. They just lost to Navy. That's a gut-wrenching, season-changing loss for them. They get the job done on the road. South Florida has a horrifically bad defense, but it is a situation to track with UCF starting quarterback. This game happening at 7 o'clock. Moving to 7:30. You got to feel bad for some of these teams. It's like, you know, like, where's the rivalry here? If you're a Tennessee fan, this has got to be frustrating. Tennessee facing Well, I guess maybe you're happy because you're dealing with the unfortunate injury to Hendon Hooker, who is out for the year. I believe torn ACL was the final word on that. And Tennessee, you know, this line has dropped significantly with the injury to him. I don't think Tennessee's going to throw away their season. This Vanderbilt team is very energized. They've won 2 games in a row. They snapped their crazy long SEC losing streak. And to me, it's kind of similar of the game last week with Florida. You know, Tennessee, this is a typical letdown game where they've got Joe Milton starting. They're so dejected. They have a horrible defense. I do think Tennessee finds a way to still make a really good bowl, and they're not going to completely throw away their good season. So they're going to win this game. But in my opinion, this spread will keep dropping because just the situation, they're so dejected. This is an emotional letdown game, and Vanderbilt keeps building off the energy that they've gotten in that program. Here's the other huge game, Notre Dame at USC. And guys, I'm going to say right here, right now, this is what I'm going to say, and people may think this is ridiculous, but let me just say this. If Notre Dame beats USC, no matter what Ohio State does, they're in the playoff. If Notre Dame beats USC, USC is eliminated. Notre Dame becomes a top 10 team. That becomes a top 10 win for Ohio State. So no matter what Ohio State does, I think if Ohio State loses to Michigan, Michigan's the 2 seed, Georgia's the 1 seed, TCU's the 3 seed, and then it's a 1-loss Ohio State versus a 1-loss Clemson, and Ohio State has way better wins, and they both have a common opponent in Notre Dame. Notre Dame annihilated Clemson. Ohio State beat Notre Dame. Ohio State is in. That's just my opinion. And guys, this is a good Notre Dame team. USC has a bad defense. I know they beat UCLA, and I said they were going to lose. I know that. But I'm taking Notre Dame. Trust the defense. Trust Marcus Freeman. They just embarrassed Boston College. They were up 37-0 at half. They're blowing everyone out. They're using that defense. This is a total mismatch. When you look at Notre Dame's defense versus USC's defense, Notre Dame will make one more play. They'll get one more turnover. Caleb Williams kind of in the Heisman race right now. I think he throws 2 interceptions. Notre Dame gets a huge win here. Just my opinion. Next, we've got the battle for Kansas. It's Kansas taking on Kansas State. Kansas State right now 12-point favorites. And guys, Kansas's defense is so horrible. Kansas State right now is on a warpath. They're covering every spread. They just crushed Baylor. They just dropped a 40-burger in the first half against West Virginia, and now they're going to crush Kansas. Again, I can't get over Kansas's defense is so bad. I've got Kansas State winning this game easily, and they've still got a chance to make a New Year's Six Bowl. And then the nightcap, it is the battle for Washington. It's Washington traveling to Washington State, and what a great game this is. Washington right now 2-point favorites. They have a really bad defense, but a really good passing offense. I think Washington State gets it done. At home, they use the energy. Guys, it's so interesting. Both of those Pacific states, Oregon and Oregon State, they're going to play a really fun game, and Washington State are going to, these are good games. These are good rivalry games. I will take the home team in this one. Washington State, maybe a slight upset. They are 2-point underdogs. It comes down to Washington's defense being so porous and Washington State feeding off the home energy and winning this game. So guys, that's going to do it for my college football week 13 picks and predictions. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.